good whatsoever. Okay, what are we going to put in the blank next to number 2? Yeah, too much. That's pretty easy to tell just by looking at it. And I did want to ask you this. I bet everybody in here will know this, whether you highlight or not. Over the years, I've seen hundreds, maybe even thousands of attempts by students to highlight. I've seen some students do this, and I've seen some students do this. But one of these two happens way more often. So it's the more common mistake or problem. Which one would that be? Yeah, too much. I'm going to show you in a minute how to avoid that forever. But I'm going to just read a part of number 2. I won't go through the whole thing for the sake of time, but it's the same little test, so follow with me. Retina is the sensitive organ for seeing, deserves closer attention than the other structures of the eye. It is made up of extremely tiny cells of 2 basic types, rods and cones. Rods are cylindrical in shape, the cones are rather tapered, etc. Now, in a way, this is better than the first one, because when you go back and read what you highlighted, you're getting lots of good stuff. But when you go back on number 2 here and you just read what you highlighted, what are you basically doing? Yeah, you're basically reading the whole thing over again. So that didn't work either. So you want to look at number 1 and 2 as being kind of the opposite extremes of bad or ineffective. Number 3 is supposed to be the good one. And hopefully you'll agree with this. In the blank next to that, if you like, you can write the words just right. And so this is the right amount. It's the right approach. Everything about this is effective. Okay? Now, I'm going to do the same little test with number 3. And while I'm reading this, I want you to see if you can figure out what did this person do that worked better than the other 2. Okay? So I'm going to ask you that in just a second. Okay, so here's the test for number 3. Retina made up of rods and cones. Rods are cylindrical, cones are tapered. Rods and cones not spread uniformly over entire retina. Cones most numerous in region known as the fovea. Rods occur most frequently about 20 degrees away from fovea. Okay, so hopefully that looks better. The question is, why? Okay, so anybody have an idea of what this person did that made it work more effectively? Mm-hmm. Right, and all the words, right? That's true. And so, how did this person choose words that enabled them to make sense of this? What is it, when you read those words like I just did, what do they sound like, sort of? Yeah, and so the way that I always like to describe this, I like the visual image of this, is whenever you highlight, the number 1 thing you're always trying to do is this: chain words together to form new, and then the word I'm going to put here, I'm going to put in quotation marks, so I'll explain that in a second. It's sentences. So every time you highlight something, you're trying to chain words together to form new sentences. So if you look back at number 3, again, the very beginning of it is a perfect example. Retina made up of rods and cones. That's not a complete sentence perfectly. An English teacher would have a heart attack over that, but it's a complete thought. You understand it on its own. When you go down further near the bottom, it says rods and cones not spread uniformly over entire retina. So a little from here,